I'm your host, Top, and today we're diving into 100 surprising facts about the United States of America. But let's start with a question. Why are Americans often seen as some of the richest people in the world? The truth is, the US has the largest economy on the planet, worth over $25 trillion in recent years. That's bigger than Japan, Germany, and India combined. The American dollar is also the world's main reserve currency. About 60% of all global trade and savings are kept in dollars. Basically, when the US sneezes, the rest of the world catches a cold. It's also the home of some of the biggest companies you know: Apple, Microsoft, Google, Amazon. Together, these giants are worth more than the entire economies of most nations. But here's the twist. Despite all that wealth, America has one of the widest gaps between rich and poor among developed countries. Some Americans live in massive mansions, while others struggle just to cover rent and groceries. So yes, America is rich, but it's also complicated, and that complexity is exactly what makes it fascinating. Now, let's move from money to land, because the US is not just about dollars, it's also about millions of miles of geography. The United States is massive, the third largest country in the world by land area, right after Russia and Canada. From coast to coast, it stretches almost 4,800 kilometers. If you drove straight across, it would take you at least 4 days without stopping. The US also has every kind of landscape you can imagine. Deserts in Arizona, snowy mountains in Colorado, endless farmlands in the Midwest, and tropical beaches in Florida and Hawaii. It's like several countries packed into one. And here's something crazy. The US has more climate zones than almost any other nation. You've got Arctic conditions in Alaska, humid subtropics in the south, Mediterranean weather in California, and even volcanic islands in the Pacific. That variety also means extreme weather. Hurricanes batter the Gulf Coast, tornadoes spin through the Midwest, and wildfires burn across the West. Nature in America can be as dangerous as it is beautiful. But it's this mix, mountains, plains, oceans, deserts, that helped shape the culture and history of the country. Because when people spread out across all that land, each region grew its own identity. Now, let's rewind the clock and talk about how the United States actually came to be. The story starts with Native American tribes who lived on this land for thousands of years before Europeans ever showed up. From the Iroquois in the Northeast to the Navajo in the Southwest, hundreds of nations had their own cultures, languages, and traditions before America existed. Then came the Europeans. The Spanish settled in the South and West, the French in Louisiana, and the British on the East Coast. Those 13 British colonies eventually became the heart of the United States. Here's the turning point. In 1776, the colonies declared independence from Britain. And after a long and bloody Revolutionary War, they won. And that's when the United States of America was officially born. But the journey didn't stop there. The country expanded westward, buying huge territories like Louisiana from France, annexing Texas, and eventually reaching all the way to California. People called it Manifest Destiny, the idea that America was meant to stretch from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific. Of course, history wasn't just victories. There was also tragedy, the displacement of Native Americans, slavery, and later, a brutal civil war that almost tore the nation apart in the 1860s. But out of that struggle, the US began to grow into the global power we know today. All right, let's switch gears and talk about culture, because the US isn't just about history and geography, it's also about lifestyle. Think about music. Jazz was born in New Orleans, rock and roll in Memphis, hip-hop in the Bronx. American music has shaped global culture for over a century. If you've ever tapped your foot to a blues riff or rapped along to a beat, you're feeling America's influence. Then there's Hollywood.
The US produces more movies and TV shows than any other country, and they're watched everywhere, from Los Angeles to Lagos. Superheroes, blockbusters, Netflix series. American entertainment is basically a global language. Food? Well, it's a mix of everything. Burgers, pizza, fried chicken, tacos. It's not just one cuisine, it's dozens blended together. Every immigrant group brought a taste of their homeland, and America turned it into something new. And let's not forget sports. Baseball is called America's pastime. Basketball was invented in Massachusetts, and American football is practically a religion every Sunday. The Super Bowl? It's one of the most watched events on the planet. But maybe the biggest part of US culture is the idea of the American dream, the belief that no matter who you are, you can work hard and build a better life. Whether or not it's always true, it's a story that millions of people believe in. And that belief has fueled America's identity for generations.
Let's talk about modern America, the powerhouse you hear about in the news every single day. The US is the leader in technology. Silicon Valley in California is home to the world's biggest tech companies: Apple, Google, Facebook, Tesla. If you're watching this on a smartphone or laptop, chances are the idea behind it came from there. America is also home to NASA. Since the 1960s, they've been leading space exploration, from landing the first humans on the moon to today's plans of reaching Mars. And don't forget SpaceX, which is pushing the boundaries of private space travel. Then there's the military. The US spends more on defense than the next 10 countries combined. It has bases in more than 70 nations, and a navy so powerful that it can operate anywhere in the world. Love it or hate it, that makes the US a global superpower. And speaking of global influence, American culture, from Hollywood movies to fast food chains, is everywhere. You can eat a Big Mac in over 100 countries, listen to American music on every continent, and watch American politics play out on international news every single day. But beyond power and politics, America is really about its people. With over 330 million residents, it's the third most populated country in the world. And what makes it unique is diversity. The US is often called a melting pot with people from every corner of the globe. New York is the city that never sleeps, home to Wall Street, Broadway, and more than 8 million people speaking over 180 languages. Los Angeles is the land of sunshine, celebrities, and Hollywood dreams. Chicago is famous for its skyscrapers, deep dish pizza, and jazz. And then there's Washington, D.C., the capital, where politics and history mix on every corner. But American life isn't just about big cities. Small towns across the Midwest, ranches in Texas, and villages in Alaska all show a very different side of the U.S. Life can be fast-paced in New York, but slow and traditional in the countryside. Here's something surprising. Americans move a lot. On average, people in the U.S. change homes more often than almost anyone else in the world. Maybe that's part of the restless, adventurous spirit that built the country. And despite all the challenges, surveys show that most Americans still describe themselves as optimistic. That belief in a better tomorrow is deeply rooted in the culture. All right, before we wrap this up, let's finish with some of the most surprising and fun facts about the United States. Did you know that the US has the largest road network in the world? Over 6 million kilometers of highways and streets. If you tried to drive them all, you could circle the Earth about 150 times. Here's another one. America is home to the world's tallest roller coaster, King Dakar in New Jersey. It shoots you up more than 450 feet at speeds of 200 kilometers an hour. Not for the faint of heart. The US also has the biggest economy, but it also produces the most trash. On average, each American throws away about 2 kilograms of garbage every single day. And check this out. The Library of Congress in Washington, D.C. is the largest library in the world. It holds more than 170 million items, books, maps, recordings, you name it. Oh, and here's a fun one. Every year, more than 20 billion hot dogs are eaten in the United States. That's about 70 hot dogs per person. So yeah, the US is a land of extremes. Big cities, big ideas, big food, big everything. And that's what makes it such a fascinating country to explore. I'm Top, and this was Top 100. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and stay tuned because next time we'll dive into another country with 100 more facts that will blow your mind.